Hi, everyone. I'm Lynn Capozzi. Welcome to my Ladies Who Launch live LinkedIn session. I'm super excited to kick off this series, to have a platform, to have some discussions with women leaders across different industries, to share some advice, hopefully impart some wisdom, and maybe have a few laughs along the way. This first session in the CMO series is going to focus on ladies, specifically the ladies who launch. And I'll be talking to female leaders who may launch in a variety of different ways. Maybe they've launched a new company, maybe they launched a new product, maybe a new program, or something revolutionary in their life, maybe not even work related. So I'm super excited to be able to tap my network of women who I think are doing amazing things and amazing launches. So before we get started with my guest today, what I want to do is start each episode with an ode to a lady in history who may have been the first to launch something and something remarkable. So today, my ode to a lady in history is back to 1975. Junko Tabei was the first woman to reach the summit of Mount Everest, which I would have thought would have been before 75, but she is a Japanese climber, obviously a trailblazer, creating an all-female climbing club and comprising her Everest team of only female climbers. She received a lot of cultural pushback in completing her climb, though she once said, "There was never a question in my mind that I wanted to climb the mountain, no matter what other people said." So we think she's a remarkable woman who's launched, and I think a great way and a great story to start for our series. But let's talk about today, because I have an exciting guest today that I want to interview. It's a perfect segue, I think, to another amazing woman. My guest today is Latané Conant, who's the CMO of Sixth Sense, who is a software company that a lot of us know and use and love in our ABM efforts. She's been a trailblazer herself when it comes to creating and fostering professional communities, especially for women in leadership, and we'll talk a lot about that today. So Latané, welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Lynn, it's always good to see you, and I love the name of this series. I have to say, I love the pun, Ladies Who Lunch. Definitely feeling like I need a mimosa right about now.
Awesome.
Oh, that's
So
part of
Latané,
launching. A lot of lunches.
exactly,
And
launching and lunching. So Latané, you've described yourself, I heard you say this many times, that you're actually a recovering software saleswoman. So what made you want to retire and move over from the world of sales over into the world of marketing? How did that happen?
It was pretty accidental. And, when I'm mentoring other women in marketing or sellers, I think that I've always been someone who wants to make things better. And I love new projects. You do those personality tests and my biggest fear is a routine. I'm like, throw me at the newest, most different thing. And I loved being in sales and I really thought that I would, because there's no two deals are the same and there's a lot of variety in sales. And I thought I was doing a pretty decent job at it. But I noticed in my company, we were a high growth company, that we didn't have a field marketing team. And I was running the central region at the time. And I said, well, we need field marketing. And how about I hire some field marketing people, because no one else is really doing it right now. And they can support the other regions too. I don't mind. And so I had some field marketing people. And then I said, well, I think that we were primarily channel sourced. So we did a lot, like basically 90% of our demand came from our channels. And I said, times are really changing and channels expect us, our channel partners are expecting us to create demand. And so I think that we should start an outbound motion. And so the team, my CEO was like, okay, sounds good. So I started a little outbound team and I'm like, they can support everybody. So I had all this like rogue stuff that I was already doing as a sales leader. And then we just, our CEO, one of the founders had been running marketing and he left. And so the CEO said, God, we're really going to need to hire a CMO. Would you help in marketing? And so I heard, oh, wow, you can maybe be our CMO. And so I was like, oh, great. This is awesome. And I was so excited. And I'll never forget, we sat down and he goes, I think you're misunderstanding. Like, I want you to take it over for now, but you will never be our CMO ever. You don't have the background, you don't have the pedigree, like you're just like never going to cut it as our CMO. And I was like, don't cry, don't cry. Okay, now I'm crying. I'll never forget. I'm just like bawling, right?
Of
I'm like,
course.
really? Never? Never, ever? But I also don't like it when people tell me what to do or what I can and can't do. And so I cried and I was really upset, but it was sort of fighting words a little bit. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll look after the department for now, and then we'll just see what happens. And so fast forward, I did end up being Apirio's CMO. And, sometimes that's just how it happens, right? You gotta do the job so that people see you in the role sometimes first. And I was willing to do that. And now I have my dream job, Lynn.
You and me both, Latané. You and me both.
Yeah.
Well, you're clearly you're not only a very popular CMO, but you're very well regarded and well respected because you've kind of made that nice connection between integrating. You're kind of the first. I think of it as a pioneer in integrating kind of marketing and data. And so one of the things that I know that you did is you've also launched again, and you were the author of a book. No forms, no spam, no cold calls. And I think the book, I remember reading, you outlined why the old playbook isn't working and why we can thank kind of the dark funnel for that. So tell us a little bit about that book and why did you even decide to write the book and kind of give away some things that might be secrets?
Yeah, it was controversial, actually. Okay, so you guys are gonna think I cry all the time, but anyway, so I come over to Sixth Sense, and I had a great run at Aperio. I ended up being a GM, and I got a lot of great experience. And I think thought of myself as a business leader first and a CMO second. But then when I went out to figure out what I was going to do next, I'm like, I really think I like the CMOing. I'm gonna go with that. And so I landed the job at Sixth Sense and was really excited. But I realized I didn't know as much as maybe I needed to, specifically about like MarTech. And there's a lot of buzzwords. There's a lot of frameworks. There's a lot of best practices, and so I started devouring all of this and reading every Serious Decisions report and every MarTech vendor's ebooks and even listening to our own sales team, pitch Sixth Sense. And I'm like, none of this stuff makes any sense to me. So one of us is in the wrong place. And again, I remember crying to my husband. This time my husband like, oh my, what am I doing? I have no idea what I'm doing. And he's like, you'll figure it out. You always do. And so I was like, and he said, you have to play to your strengths. And I'm like, okay, well, strengths, find some strengths. And I think that what Aperio taught me was that you always put the customer in the center of the experience. And you look at B2C, like look at the most famous, profitable, amazing B2C companies, and they create an amazing customer experience.
Right.
And I started looking at all of the things that marketers and marketing was prescribing. And I'm like, I don't know if this is really about creating an amazing customer experience. It's kind of actually a sucky customer experience. Like, we're going to get their email and we're going to send them on a drip campaign of 10 steps. And then we're going to do this. And then we're going to qualify them and la, la, la. And I'm like, I feel like I have an opportunity, given what Sixth Sense does and the platform that it has, to not just go out there and try to get people to consume a little more intent data, or not just say, oh yeah, predictive analytics, but really like take a couple steps back and say, well, what if we can just reimagine how we design and craft our customer, or with prospects, our future customer experience. And maybe if we put that at the center, we'll win. And maybe we'll win more than our competition, and maybe we'll profit, and maybe we'll grow. And so I had this like radical plan, and I came into my team and I'm like, we're going to have no forms, no spam, and no cold calls. Here's how we define a form. Here's when we use a form. Here's how we define spam. This is how we define a cold call. And like, we've got to prove this. And I went to marriage counseling for a year to learn that people don't like to have advice. But it's okay to share an experience. So I thought, the best way to teach this is to do it myself, and to just go all in and figure this out. And then we'll just share our experience. And so that's what we did, is we called it Project Bold Moves. And we really, drank the champagne, ate the dough, whatever you want to say. And I didn't set out to write a book. I actually majored in accounting, so I would never have to write a paper. But I started presenting on, okay, this was our approach, and this is how it worked, and this is how we're measuring success, and these are the templates that we're using, and this is how our BDRs do outbound. This is how you do a no cold call outbound. And so we started like taking the show on the road, like telling people about it. And I found I was spending a lot of time writing up emails, like trying to describe to people what to do, and sending attachments. And then I had this Google folder of all the templates. And I'm like, we need to write this all down. And so that's what we did. And I remember our legal was like, are you sure you want to put this out? This has like our strategic plan. This has like, and I'm like, yeah, I think that if we really believe in what we do and becoming a big company, we have to sell change, not sell software. And that's what we set out to do. And so, I think it's been pretty monumental to us. That notion of, let's not sell software, let's sell change. And it's pretty cool. We have this like certification on it now. And so once a month we do an Ask the Expert series, and we bring in anyone who's taking the certification can come on. And sometimes, Lynn, you kind of get sick of your own like little shtick.
Sure. Yeah.
You're like, it's not new to me. I've done it a bunch of times. But it was like, it's just amazing that, we had a lot of customers who are like, this has completely changed our go-to-market. We are performing better than we've had our best quarter ever. And I don't know, it's very rewarding.
Well, clearly it's working. I love the certification idea too. That's brilliant. What a great idea that is.
Yeah. It's not on the tech, it's on the approach.
Right.
That's exactly. Kind of step one is like, get in the right mindset. But anyway, you asked me like a small question, and I went on for
no, that's cool. Well, congratulations on the book. So I found it very inspirational, actually. So just completed my first one. So super excited about that. So you and I have known each other for I don't know how many years. I'm not going to add it up. Okay, I never add up years anymore. We've known each other for a while, and one thing I can say for sure is that you love an analogy. So I often hear you give one of many analogies, but one of my faves was when you related marketing and wine. No wonder why that was one of my favorites. But so I love this quote. This is your quote: "Winemakers are masters of their stories, and it serves as a great inspiration to marketers to become the same." So I think that's so true. Like every great marketer is a wonderful storyteller. How did this idea launch?
Yeah. So, I mean, and if you're out there, I mean, how many virtual wine tastings have we done? We've all probably done a few, right? And I just started I probably did one too many, but I started noticing that some of them were great and some of them were like, okay, thanks for the wine. You know? But the ones that were great, and subsequently I thought their wine was great, were the ones that really told a story about the history of the wine. And they went into a lot of detail that one could think was minutia, right? Like, this is the soil, and then there was a storm. And then we, and this is where we got the vine from, and this is the blending process, and this is the owner and why they bought the land, and like really went into like all this detail about like why the wine is what the wine is. And every time the vintners that did that, I thought their wine was better and wanted to buy the wine, and it was just like so much better. And so then I started thinking, like, we sometimes, like, again, and I was talking about before, like, we get bored of our own story, or maybe we think that our story is not interesting. And the story is what shapes the product. Like what was the original problem that we wanted to solve? And like, why are we in, and I challenge my team all the time. I'm like, why are we in love with this problem? Like, if you're not in love with this problem, like, this is not the place to be. Right. And so like really thinking about that story of why you're personally in love with this problem, why the company's in love with solving the problem, like why we were founded, what goes into, like, it's like the love and care that goes into like making and delivering the product actually matters. And I think that's what makes companies last. And I think in B2B, sometimes we're a little shy to embrace that emotion around the story of our product. And so it was one of those moments where I was like, oh, wow, we can be even more vulnerable about, hey, this, the storm came, and like, people love that.
Yeah, they do. I absolutely agree. I just had a storytelling, like, 3/4 a day class for everyone in my marketing team, because that's what I wanted. Sometimes it's not just naturally instilled. And so we did actually some formal training on how to do storytelling. And I think it's wonderful for marketers. I think it's something that we need, and people need to get better and better at it. I think it's more and more important going forward. No doubt. So you also have an amazing community that you've launched called the CMO Coffee Talks, where you have different leaders in B2B marketing get together to talk about a variety of marketing topics. I'm a member of the group. I join every Friday morning at 8:00, which is not my prime hour at all, but I try never to miss it because I find it so valuable, and it's really a very flourishing community. So just curious about, like, what was your inspiration for that? And how did you know it was going to work? How did you know people would come by putting out this community with Matt Hines?
Well, you never know if stuff's the most rewarding marketing decisions are the ones that have a little pit in your stomach and you think, is this going to really work? I could get fired for this. Those are usually the best programs.
Yeah.
I'm not one for playing it safe. We didn't know it was going to work. And I think that to start a community, your end game if you start out with an end game of, I want 1,200 CMOs to get together every week, that doesn't actually really work. And because I've had failed communities too, right? Mm-hmm. You have to really just think like one value exchange. I just want to create one value exchange, and then I want to create another value exchange, and then I want to, and it's a lot slower a roll, and you have to be okay with okay and comfortable with that. And so one of the things I coach on when people ask about, like, how do you create a good community, and people will say, well, I sell to, take us. So I sell to marketers, I sell to salespeople, I sell to business development representatives, I sell to ops, but the community is not all those people, right? That would behoove me to put all them together and talk about ABM every week, right? But there's, you know, I think that to create a vibrant community, it's like finding people that have a lot in common. And it's actually like a smaller group with a very, very similar problems is better. It would be better to have 30 CMOs who are very similar and meeting consistently than 1,200 on a list who never do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly how we started. I mean, and you were in the very first one where we pivoted and we just started talking, and then people were like, oh, we like this and let's do it again. And we really tried to get like that core group of people. And it wasn't like, oh, let's go invite more people. Let's go invite more people. It's always been like, how do we create a great dynamic with a smaller group? And then that will start to build on itself.
Yeah, I know I've recommended, quite a few other CMOs to join the group. So I think that's almost like the best way. It's like when you're getting value out of something and then you tell your friends or your colleagues, right? And they're getting the same kind of value. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a long, and I tell people, I'm like, it's a long game. Like, I know it's been really valuable to 6 Sense, and, but I didn't set out to have our goal was, how do we create value for our audience? And that was it. And so the only goal was, and it wasn't even quantity of numbers, it's percentage. So that's what I look at. Like, I look at the percentage of participation, and I want to make sure that we have CMOs well represented from our customers, because, they're paying customers. I want them getting value from everything related to 6 Sense. Right. And then, ideal prospects. And then I think for a community to be vibrant, it's good to have like there's like some folks in there that are consultants, or like they're sort of like in the ecosystem, but maybe not like someone who we would necessarily sell 6 Sense to.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I'm more managing, is the percentages of the pie, and making sure I feel like it's a healthy percentage of folks versus how big the pie is.
Cool. Well, you've done a tremendous job with it. Congratulations. And in that regard, thank you for mentoring so many people who are also becoming CMOs, because I see you do that a lot as well. So thank you for that. We all appreciate that. Okay, I've got a couple already. Lightning round questions. Okay. So don't give too much consideration. You just will give me your gut answer as I ask you a couple of quick questions. Okay. What's your favorite analogy?
Analogy. I don't know if it's analogy. Oh, I know. A lot of times I say slow as molasses in January. Or I'll say we're off like a herd of turtles. Like, whenever my family goes anywhere, I'm like, we're off like a herd of turtles.
I knew you had a couple of favorites. Okay. What's the one piece of advice you'd like to give your past self for when you were first kind of launching your career? Something you could pass on to someone else as you think about it.
Yeah, I think you trust your instincts. The times when things I knew, I just didn't say, I wasn't confident enough in myself, even though my instincts were telling me to do something or not do something. So those are the times I look back and I'm like, God, I wish I'd had more confidence and like believed in myself.
Yeah. Awesome. I think the same thing in terms of if I was to go to and look back. Well, Latané, thank you. As always, it's been great to catch up. Thanks for being a guest on Ladies Who Launched. And I look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah. See you next week. Thanks, Team Acquia.